Let's flip over to Vitality now. So on the Vitality side of things, like, this is a team that came in with a lot of hype, mainly just because of storylines. It's not everyone knew they'd be the best team or whatever. But, you know, they're obviously the 10th place team. But again, that, like, they had a way better roster than 10th place. Like, that was just how competitive LEC can be now. And obviously they fucked some things up. With this new lineup, like, Wicked, start me off on this one. What do you think of this, like, new lineup of Vitality? Do you actually think, for example, can they be a contender from what you've seen?
So I don't know if they can be a contender, but if they're a contender for World Slot, they're going to be like the bottom ones, right? I think the problem with Vitality is they don't seem to be very strong as a team. They just seem to be very strong individual from what I could see. Like, one easy example is in one of the games, you had Crownshot and Labrov engaging on the bottom lane 2v2 while knowing the top laner just use his TP and then enemy top laner just base and have TP ready. Of course he's going to TP down and kill you guys and you lost a player, right? So the communication seems bad. The overall teamwork seems like it could be better, but the individual skill is extremely high. So if they can actually get coaching, I don't know who the coach is, but if they can get to the right level of team play, I do think they have a chance, but that's still a long way.
The coach is basically the guy who was Leader's coach when he's in Mouse Sports. I forget his name now, but yeah, that's who it is now. Yeah, go on,
Duke and Mephisto are the coaches, no?
Yes, there you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, the question I actually have about is about the individual skill, because like I generally don't think that they have the brains to actually compete at the highest level. I just don't. But I also don't think that the individual ability is high enough for me to be like, hey, this team, if they had like, it's not the same as Misfits. For example, with Misfits, I can see that if they had good leadership, if the team is really working fine together, I think they can be a contender for like. I mean, in an ideal world, in an ideal world, they could be top 2, top 3. They're showcasing it with a 3-0 start right now. But like with Vitality, I don't get the same gut feeling. I'm like, hey man, if these players are like really well coached, if they're really guided well, they're going to be top 2, top 3. I just don't have the feeling about them. And it's when I look at the individuals that it really hammers it home for me. I obviously don't know about SLT enough. I just don't know his ability. But I have some kind of historic reference for Selfmade. I have historic reference for Leader to a certain extent. I have historic reference for Labrov, and I have historic reference for Crownshot. Crownshot has never been like better than I would suppose like he has at the top been at the third best AD carry. Third, second, maybe. I mean, I would say like, but I think right now in his given form, I think he's not barely cracking the top 5, if anything, but most likely going to be a lot below that. Leader, like in the mid lane, you have Caps, you have Humanoid, like who are 1 and 2, like obviously above him, like already. Then you have VTO is kind of pushing the limits right now, so you can consider him maybe up there too. So you already have like 3 players, and you have Larson who's also up there. So where's Leader gonna rank, right? Leader is not a top 4, top 3 mid laner. He's just not. Like no matter which way people want to twist this, he's not as good as the other players that I just mentioned. Maybe he can beat out VTO in the long run, but the other 3, he's not going to beat out. He's not better than Larson. He's not better than Humanoid. He's not better than Caps. So where are you going to rank him? Like it's that their individual ability is overblown, and it's built on narrative more than actual skill. Because even Selfmade last split, he fucking sucked. Like he sucked. Like he really sucked. Like he was one of the reasons why Fnatic actually performed as badly as they did, probably on top of internal errors and whatever it is, right?
Yes.
But like obviously he didn't quite have the spring split. So the question is like, where is he ranking right now? Because narrative wise, yes, he was a top 2 jungler for quite some time, right? Yes. Like he was up there, right, with the words fans, and everything like that. So I don't want to dismiss that ability to come back to that level. But right now, he's not that. He barely again cracks the top 5. If anything, he's probably below the top 5. So that individual ability, in my opinion, is overblown. And I would say that Vitality also would need to replace the support position. And I think that's probably the thing that they lack the most, is some kind of leadership. Someone like Vander, someone of that archetype that is really just pushing the team to unite and actually understand like the macro game. Because for like quite some time now, and it didn't matter which player they've brought in so far, it felt like Vitality's macro game just felt terrible. And I don't know if that's a lack of coaching, because I know Duke and I know to a certain extent Mephisto, so I think they're smart, because I've talked to Duke a couple of times, and I think he's smart enough to actually bring the level of macro game, but I feel it feels like it always falls flat with the players in terms of executing that on the map. They need a veteran leader in some kind of position. Maybe just, trade for Jesses, if you want to.
Sure. That's the team that you should be on, yeah. Okay. That's a good line. It's a good line.
Some players instead, huh?
Maybe that, actually, if you think about it, if SK trade Labrov and Jesses, and they both traded, I think both teams will improve, like, If I think about
Could
it.
be the case. Yeah.
So they need
Maybe.
veteran leadership. Yeah, maybe. I'm obviously like being a bit facetious here,
A
but
bit
like
tongue-in-cheek there, yeah, of course.
they need veteran leadership in some kind of position, because Crownshot didn't bring it when he was brought in. He was brought in for veteran leadership.
Yes.
While Combo's a good AD carry, right? He was not bad. So you bring in Crownshot for veteran leadership. Veteran leadership doesn't improve. The team doesn't seem more cohesive. So now you bring in more firepower, and you don't increase the amount of leadership in the team. You know, because Selfmade is, to my estimation, not a leader as far as I'm concerned. Leader is not a leader, which is stupid, but and SIT is not going to lead the team, and Labrov is not going to lead the team either. So what are you going to do? You know, like, you have to do something about it, about this issue.
Yeah, go on, Wicked.
I think you're right about most things. I think one thing that Leader and Selfmade could be good at is actually getting kills in the mid lane. I think that is something those players are good at getting, right? And if they can get those kills in the mid lane, they can snowball that into leads and controlling the game. I do agree they have bad macro. I think the bot lane is weaker than it needs to be. They need a stronger bot lane, so they need to step up there. And then top lane, honestly, top lane seem fine to me, so I have nothing there. I think peak, as I said earlier, maybe top 3, that's something they could be gunning for. But as you said, I don't think they're one of the best teams in Europe. They're just kind of middle of the pack, I think.
Yeah, the tough thing for me is I definitely agree with the initial analysis you said about how, like, individually they have good players. Like, that's basically the saddest part I've seen about watching these first few games. I was just praying that, you know, they have some, like, amazing leader, self-made synergy, and maybe the young guy knows how to play, like, weak side or whatever, and then the bot lane just folds. There's all these ways you could hope, and I am making, like, 7 things have to happen that I haven't seen happen yet, so it's not that likely. And I have to say, when I watch the game, I agree, unfortunately, like, they don't seem like they really have much of a clue what they're doing macro-wise. They just have, like, in theory, good individual players, but I also agree with you're saying amazing. If you go down the list, the only one who even, like, right now has ever shown potential to be the best in his role, Selfmade, and that is not the form he's in at the moment. In fact, you even look right now, if he can play Xin Zhao, yeah, that's a champion I could see him being a monster on. Tell you what, when he plays Udyr, fucking Udyr is not a self-made champion. I don't want to see him on that champion. Like, where's his mechanics going to be? That's the one where there's, like, you just bash the buttons and just run around. Like, that is not a self-made carry champion. So, to me, I actually wonder, because in this scenario, I guess in my case, you'd have to, like, heavily draft around your jungler, which I don't know if you really want to do right now with how all the lanes are, etc. Then you also, I agree, everyone else is basically, like, they're either, like, decent, average, or maybe slightly above average role, depending on what you think about the player and where they're at. So the problem is this: if you wanted to really have it where, like, oh, they're all monsters and so they're going to win off into it, then they have to be monsters. They have to be like top esports, where they could have, like, dodgy macro, but, like, you know, like 4 players could be the best in their role, like, in the world or something. Like, yeah, if you have that level of team, you can sort of break League of Legends. But let's face it, if you watch League over the years, it doesn't tend to be the super teams that actually win. It tends to be the team where on paper you don't know how good they're going to be, but then in the server, you know, this player just is smarter than his individual skill looks, or this person's a great shot caller, or this player, like, he's a jungler that no one thinks that good, but then maybe it's a supportive meta and he plays awesome around the solos or something. Like, it's like, League is a team game, and the team aspect really does win out over individual player. Like, you're not going to, and the answer is saying they don't have, like, all the best players, so it do look like a bit of a dodgy team. I was hoping they were going to be a contender. Now they look more like they have to get it together, and then they can maybe steal the last spot. I kind of agree on that one. Should we flip it over? Yeah, go on. What did you say?
I mean, they really need to figure out. I mean, that's something that I've just have instant contempt for. It's like you have, like, so many puzzle pieces, but it's all the same puzzle piece, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And also, it's like you keep trying to, like, connect the two, but it doesn't work, right? You have so many mechanical players, whatever that is, but it's like you never create, like, that synergy together. You never fit the piece together. So I it's just to my estimation, it's just bad scouting to a certain extent, you know. Like, I mean, I don't want to write them off right now, but I do think that they're not gonna. I actually am just gonna call it out. They're not gonna make it to Worlds for sure. They're not gonna make it to Worlds this split. They're not gonna make it to Worlds next split. They are also barely, if anything, gonna get 6th place playoffs. Like, if they get into playoffs, they're gonna be 6th. Like, I just don't see them above Mad. I don't see them above G2. I don't see them above Rogue. I personally see them competing potentially with Misfits, but that's, like, basically 5th, 6th, maybe. That's, like, their range, I would say.
I will say, since he said it on Twitter and we talked about it on Summoning Insight, this is where actually I thought Monty had a pretty good sort of out of left field take, where, because obviously to fans, they only care about what your last split was in LCS or LEC. So they all do believe that, like, Soaz is washed and he's trash, he should never play again. And he's caught. Monty made the point, like, if you were making a team like this, so you're gambling on the whole leader self-made thing, like Wicked said, like, they're supposed to just carry the mid lane, basically. And then the bot lane, you're hoping is at least just like a go even bot lane. He said, basically, wouldn't Soaz be like the perfect top laner point-to-pointer for this team. Like, smart guy, understands macro concepts, can play weak side. Like, that, you want that. You don't want, like, the rookie top laner who's a carry top. You've mixed together too many, like you say, too many things that are the same. Like, you don't have balance in the team there. I thought you had a point, actually. What do you think, Wicked?
I mean, I think someone like Source, if he's still good, I don't know how good he is at the game right now, to be fair, but if he was still good, if he is, he might be. And someone like Odamna would fit really well because they're really good weak side players, right? So something like that would fit super well, especially because they can both play strong side and weak side, which is super good when you have a strong mid lane, a jungler. Because if you get ahead mid jungle, you can start playing strong side. If you get behind, you can just play weak side and you can chill around.
Yeah.
All right, go on, Amazing.
Yeah, create the balance. Either you get a veteran top laner, which obviously like right now is really hard, but or you get a veteran support. Like you have to be able to play one side of the map has to be able to play weak side continuously and every game if need be.
Yes.
They have to have that ability. It doesn't mean that they only have to play weak side, but they have to have that ability, and I think that's not a given.
I'll use this example where I'll use both of you as players. This is going to sound a little bit BM Wicked, but just roll with the analogy and don't take it too personally. So here's the problem, right? If I had to look at your two careers, the reason why Amazing lasted longer at his role, like the LEC level and doing gigs there, isn't like raw scale or it's, believe it or not, it's actually that, in my opinion, his style of play just suited better being a veteran when you don't have to play off mechanics, basically. Because by the end, I mean, he said it many times himself, he was just basically playing like with his brain. He was just playing jungle with his brain and fixing teams that desperately needed someone to help them with that aspect. Whereas in your style of play, Wicked, like you used to be a smash the lane top lane, like you were playing your favourite champions, you win the lane, you get the kills, you was solo lane teams. Like it's going to be a lot harder if you have to just play like Maokai, fucking Shen, stuff that people don't really want, like they thought of as the weak side top lane as much. What do you think, Wicked? 2 PM? Did I go too far?
No, I mean, I don't really care, right? Even when people make jokes, kaboom, it's just like, well, it doesn't matter to me. I think it's fair to say. I think also a thing is, right, that top lane have changed very hard into... Right now, I think top lane is in a position where it's extremely weird to really gauge how strong a top laner is, especially in competitive environment, right? Because a lot of top laners tend to look way worse than they are, or way better than they are, depending on how the jungler plays, and depending on where the jungler plays around, right? So it's very hard to really gauge how good the top laners are, and there's only a few players where I'm 100% confident that this player is super good, or this player is really bad.
Okay, what do you think, Amazing?
I mean, yeah, but it's a conscious decision that like people go through. Like I think Wicked, like when for example, like obviously you were with CRG EU, like at that time, like you obviously already played cerebral. But the thing is, like as soon as you get out this team aspect, right? When you suddenly like break out of it, like, and you have to kind of reinvent yourself every single time. And I think that's maybe where I was able to do more of that because of the fact that I think I also had like a different role on already. I had a different role already on Origin, and I was kind of already like transferring myself in, or like becoming that player that is able to be cerebral and kind of lead the team like from the outside perspective. So it is definitely something that you have to go through in order to extend your career if you want to be a fit all kind of player, But to kind of come back to the point, I think specializing nowadays, actually, I mean, if I think about it, specializing to one aspect of the game is actually not even that bad nowadays anymore. You have a lot of players who have been specialized on one aspect of the game and are not that jack of all trades and are like fitting, like making other people fit around them together that have had like insanely long careers at this point. Like Odo Amne is like Odo Amne, Reckless are good examples. I mean, Source was a good example, but I think he kind of like still tried to carry too much to a certain extent, So like some people, like they just get a real impression of you. So specializing on one aspect of the game, if that is weak side, is actually quite strong at this point, like to actually have that typecast coming in instead of being someone that is trying to fix or smash lane, whatever it is,
Yeah. Also, one thing is when I stopped in LEC or LCS at the time, one thing to remember is I had offers from bottom teams, right? I just didn't want to play in a bottom team, and I wanted to make my own team. And I actually got onto a team with upsetting caps, but due to unlucky things happening with gangplank and so on, we actually ended up losing. So I did have really good chances to get back in it, right? And I did have good challengers teams. It was just extremely unlucky circumstance that happened.
Yeah, fair enough. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.